This is Pop Culture Yearbook. On this show, we pick pieces of pop culture that were important to us in a given year. We then discuss our memories and dig into those movies, albums, shows, and more. I'm Brad.
I'm Pete.
And I'm Gif.
Boy, you got a little loud on that one, Gif.
That was,
yeah. From my mic,
Your microphone didn't like that.
Not all about you, man.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Tonight's all about me. It's my pick, but it's actually the listeners' pick because there were so many things I liked this year that I put out a poll to see what people wanted to listen to, and they picked School of Rock. Yep. And you know what? When I watched it last week, I was pretty happy they picked it because this movie rocks.
I was pretty happy to see a PG poll that you finally posted online.
A PG poll?
Yeah. POLL.
So I get P-O-L-E. I get the joke, Gifford. I don't know that Brad does.
Thank you.
Anyway, I love this movie, and I knew I did, but it's been a long time since I've watched it, and since we've already done 2 movies this month, I thought we should try something else. But the listeners spoke loud and clear, and I'm happy because it's awesome. So, School of Rock starring Jack Black. This is one I don't remember seeing the first time. I don't think I saw it in the movie theater, but I don't remember. Like, usually I can remember that. All I remember is that the first time I saw this movie, I loved it. Like, it immediately was like, that movie was awesome. And it was one of those where I think you went into it thinking this will be good, but then it was great, and it like hits you like that was even better than you expected. It's got great music, obviously, throughout. It's a cool story, even if it's not maybe all that realistic. As a teacher, there's some holes in there, but they're not actually that bad. It also came out early in my teaching career, 2003. I'm teaching for about 4 years at this point. So, you kind of have that connection. I'd seen Jack Black in Orange County, which I liked a lot, but, it wasn't the greatest movie, but I liked him and I liked the movie. But this was like, the star making role. This is like, wow, this is what Jack Black is. And he was born for this role. Mm-hmm. I've shown this movie in class more than once with a certain class that I teach. And I got to watch it this time on DVD because I own the DVD and it's not on anything for free. So it was fun to pop in the old DVD and go back 20 years and listen or watch it that way.
Mm-hmm. So I think it was on Paramount.
Oh, well, I don't have Paramount.
I don't have Paramount either.
I would have had to get it.
I don't either. It's like, okay, that was useless information there. But thanks.
Sorry, but for the listener out there who wants to go out and watch this, if you have Paramount, you can find it on Paramount.
If you don't have Paramount, it would be cheaper to just rent it on Amazon or Apple. So
correct.
Yes. All right. So I love the movie, and I have a little connection with it as a teacher. Pete, what do you know about School of Rock?
I don't recall I know I've seen it before once or twice. I'm not as in love with this movie as you are. I think it's good.
Here we
but
go.
It's I'm not being
Pete's always got to be the negative one.
I'm not controversial or anything here. But I don't put it at the top of my list like it sounds like you do. But it's still good and it's fun. And you're right. Jack Black was born for it. It's a little campy at times, but it is what it is. But for a movie like this, I've seen much worse in that regard that get more ridiculous. But it's good and it's fun.
Yeah. I'm with you guys. I don't remember the first time I saw it. I think this may be the second time that I've watched it all the way through. Wow. I think I watched it more than likely just on television. The time that I did see it, it's just such a fun movie. I mean, the energy that Black brings to the role and just the unadulterated enthusiasm that he shows these kids is so heartwarming. And it's funny. Joan Cusack, I love Joan Cusack. She reminds me of a cousin of mine that I hold in high regard. And so the two of them together are fun. The kids playing off of, Jack Black and him getting them excited to do this project is a lot of fun. So it's just a really good, wholesome family movie. And yeah, sure, there's some holes in there, but we're gonna let that pass. It's just too much fun to say anything too negative about it, in my opinion.
Well, so it sounds like this was a good movie to choose because you guys
Yeah.
aren't as familiar with it as you maybe should be. I bet
Sure.
if Pete watched it again, he would be the #1 fan.
Uh-huh.
I would hate it even harder, Brad. No, I'm just kidding.
So you do hate it.
No, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I liked it. Maybe I would give it a 6 or a 7 out of 10. Where
Sure.
it's above average, and I don't hate it, but
Positive review.
Yeah, positive review, thumbs up, but maybe 3.5 stars.
Sounds like Roger Ebert.
Let's get into some fun facts here. So this is a movie that had a $35 million budget, and it made $131 million. So people would agree it was pretty awesome, and it made a lot of money. It was the highest grossing musical comedy movie ever until Pitch Perfect 2. After the first one got so big, then the second one was actually bigger moneymaker because the first one set the groundwork.
Wow.
But so, I mean, you're talking about a major, major hit. What I find very weird is it has a 92% from the critics on Rotten Tomatoes, and you never see this. It's 64% from the audience.
Yeah, usually it's the other way around.
Really? I didn't notice.
You never see a gap like that, especially that way.
Yeah. It's inverted because usually
so
the critics
I looked at a couple audience
critical.
reviews, but there's just too many and they're idiots. So I just couldn't believe it. Like, I don't get it.
Right.
But you brought up Roger Ebert and you brought up 3.5 stars, Pete.
Yeah.
He gave it 3.5 out of 4 stars.
Sure did.
So there you go.
Oh, I was going 3.5 out of 5 stars.
Well, he gave it 3.5, so he liked it better than you.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
And who's going to argue with Roger Ebert? Lots of
people. I will sometimes.
Gene Siskel will. He has many times.
Yeah. Yep.
All
Robin
right.
will.
One of the more fun facts in this movie to me is that Ned Schneebly, the giant nerd friend, is played by Mike White, who is actually the screenwriter of this movie. But he's like huge right now because he also created The White Lotus on HBO. And when you watch that show, you would have no idea. And you learn, oh my God, Ned Schneebly created and wrote this show. It's kind of crazy. But he definitely had a relationship with Jack Black because he also wrote Orange County. And then after this, Nacho Libre. So they have kind of their own little trifecta of movies together. So Mike White, he's funny in this movie, but he's more known for writing, and he currently has one of the bigger talked about hits on in TV.
Sure.
I will turn it over to Giff. I have more fun facts, but I don't want to go through them all at once because I know Gifford's always prepared.
Well, yeah, I got a couple extra here. You touched on quite a few that I have. Of course, this is directed by Richard Linklater.
Yeah,
we covered his wonderful Dazed and Confused.
That's right.
On an episode of this show. So great job again on his
director.
He also had one. Was it last year with Glenn Powell, Hitman, which I found very fun.
I like that movie. We watched it.
And he's got a pretty good catalog as well. This is, like Brad said, critically acclaimed, not only 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, but Jack Black also received a Golden Globe nomination for Best Actor in a Musical or Comedy. And this also got a Grammy nomination for Best Soundtrack Compilation. So definitely bringing in, didn't win those awards, but obviously always just an honor to be nominated.
Well, especially for a comedy and a comedy actor, as we've discussed many times on this show. I mean, just getting nominated is enough. Because even in the Golden Globe musical or comedy, I mean, half the time the movies aren't even really comedies that are thrown into that category. It's ridiculous what they consider comedy.
Right. It's almost comedic.
Yeah. I got a few more here. Pete, do you have any fun facts?
I found that the child actors actually played their own instruments. So
yes, that's a big one.
That is big. And in conjunction with that, Jack Black did his own singing and guitar playing. The ending scene was filmed in front of a real audience. And it was School of Rock was later a Broadway musical and Nickelodeon TV series.
Yeah. So yeah, Richard Linklater was the reason that these kids, he insisted that if he was going to direct this, the kids that they picked would be able to play the actual instruments. And so they went around and they had to find kids that could play them and then also fill the roles. And these kids are awesome. I mean, that's probably a big part of what makes this movie work. Jack Black also made up all the kids' nicknames. Like he was just kind of riffing, and that's the kind of thing he can do. So all the kids have little nicknames, and he made those up. They weren't necessarily in the script. Black and Joan Cusack, Gifford, you like her. They were also in the movie High Fidelity together, which is another music-based movie. And I always find it interesting because the movie's School of Rock, but when he walks into that bar at the beginning or club, whatever, it says the School of Rock. And there were lots of places where I've seen the movie referred to as the School of Rock. So, I'm not sure if that was something ever that like they changed it or what, but you see it both ways sometimes, including right there in the movie. It's like, why would it say the School of Rock when they're going to call it School of Rock? So that's a very minor fun fact.
I think with that point, Brad, I would just say to that point that you are wasting your time. And everybody else, our listeners' time too. I'm joking.
Well, you can go to hell. I just said that was a fun fact, and that's what fun facts are for. Minutia. That's what our whole show is for.
All right, bring it back.
That's
bring
true.
her back.
That's
around,
true.
fellas.
That's true.
Now we're going to go to the cast, which we've had some casts lately in movies that often are just deep and long. This one, I don't have a lot of people, but because it's so focused on, certain... It's not as big of a cast, and there's not as many people.
Well, it's mostly the kids. The supporting cast is the kids. You have Jack Black.
There's
and the kids.
some
You got a couple of others. But it's really the kids who I don't know if any of them went on to much bigger and better things. But
one of them did.
Yeah, Miranda Cosgrove is probably, I would say, the big one out of here. Correct.
Yeah. Okay. She was in iCarly, and she played Summer, and she went on to be one of the bigger child actors.
Correct.
Got it.
Jack Black, as you said, was nominated for a Golden Globe. Gifford, do you know who he lost to that year?
That would be Bill Murray for Lost in Translation.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you like Jack Black? He's the kind of guy that could rub people the wrong way. So while we're talking about him, I mean, obviously, I think he's pretty funny. He just hosted SNL this year again recently, and he was great on there. I loved him in Jumanji. So I think he's great. You got any thoughts on Jack Black? He can be a little divisive, I think.
I like him overall, but there's times where he can be a little over the top, but that's the point of who he is. But sometimes I get a little annoyed. I liked him better in Jumanji than this one.
Sure. He's definitely over the top. I mean, if you listen to Tenacious D, it's always a little crazy, but he brings such energy to his roles. I love Kung Fu Panda movies. He was great in those. So I think he's great in this role. He's super high energy. That's what you need to do if you're going to try to pass yourself off as a legitimate substitute teacher in a very highly regarded prep school. He's just got to bring it and kind of bulldoze everybody with confidence, and not only that, but use that confidence to get the kids on board for his scheme to win Battle of the Bands. So I do like him. I think he did a nice job, and I did just watch that Saturday Night Live recently that he was on, I think 2 weeks ago, and again, I think he did a wonderful job.
Yeah. He's kind of like Will Ferrell in that way, I think, where, he can be so over the top with what he's doing that some people don't like that, or, can be hit and miss. But in general, I find him to be more hit than miss. He doesn't do it. He's not true. Like, I like Tenacious D. I think the whole concept is funny, but I probably don't like that nearly as much. Like, our friend Dave loves Tenacious D. I mean, some of the lyrics in this, it's just like, that's not necessarily my thing, but they are musicians. Like, they know what they're doing and they're having fun with it. So I mentioned that Ned Schneebly, his best friend, who he's maybe not a great friend to, but they end up well, is played by Mike White. We just talked about him. He's the writer as well. You brought up Joan Cusack, who goes all the way back to one of our episodes on 16 Candles and many, many more. What do you like about Joan Cusack, Giff? You've professed that many times before.
I think it's because she reminds me so much of one of my cousins. I just find her funny. I like the way she talks. I like, she can play. She usually plays kind of the nerdier, buttoned up role, but that's got a little something darker in the background that you're hoping comes out.
It's very flighty.
Yeah, and I think she's funny. I just really enjoy her in most of the
I do
things
too.
I've
And I
seen her
think
in.
this role is kind of funny because it's a little different than maybe some other things you might see her in, because she is playing the principal. She's the
Right.
buttoned up principal who's supposed to be by the book, but then there is that other side to her.
Yep.
Speaking of buttoned up, we have a role by Sarah Silverman that is not like many of her others, maybe, because she is just a complete, I don't know, should we just call her a bitch? Are we allowed to say that? She's
Yes.
just a bitch to Ned.
She is.
And she's not wrong. I mean, she
No.
gets upset at Dewey,
Ned. Oh,
but
at Dewey. Yep.
but at the same time, the way she treats Ned is, again, over the top. Like, she is just very mean and rude, and you don't even know why they're together. So,
Well,
she's
always funny.
She's the heavy in this movie. That's what I would say.
Good.
She's the heavy.
Right.
You got to have your villain.
And of course, she constantly gets on Ned for letting Dewey push him around. Well, that's her role. That's what she is there to do. She's there to push Ned around, and she doesn't like somebody else coming in and having influence
That's a good
over him.
point.
So, that's what makes her a bitch, is that she says, don't let that guy push you around. I'm really the only one who should be able to do that. So I love Sarah Silverman. There's not a lot of things I think she can do wrong.
Even when she's not being funny in this movie, she's still great. Like, she has a presence on the screen, I think, that, she usually takes control when she's on there, whether she's funny or not.
Yeah, she does her job perfectly.
The only kid I wrote down was Miranda Cosgrove, because she's the one that kind of went on to some sort of stardom. Maybe not for people of our age, but like, I don't know, my daughter probably knows who she is, but maybe not. She might be in between. Did you guys write down any names of the other kids or know anything from them? I just kind of let it be because they're all just great in this movie.
Yeah, they're great. I looked up a couple just to see because I thought, oh, that kid kind of looks familiar. Let's see what he's done now. And I really didn't find too much more. Yeah, and they are great in this movie. Like you say, I didn't find that fact that they all played the actual instruments. I think that's awesome. And, I think that's, again, like you said, leads to this being as charming as it is, because the kids are actually doing the playing on this, and, it doesn't look fake or overdone, gives some authenticity to it.
There is one other actor in here who's pretty well known, and he doesn't have a huge part, but Frank Whaley is in there in the Battle of the Bands. He's the guy that won't let them play, and he has to convince to let them play.
Yep.
He's been in a lot of stuff. He was in Career Opportunities with Jennifer Connelly. That's kind of a leading man role he had in a smaller movie. But he was Moonlight Graham on Field of Dreams.
Yep.
He's in Pulp Fiction, and he's been in just lots of different things where you recognize his face. And he's kind of the one character actor in here that really stood out to me, because most of the other actors has to do with kids. So there are the teachers too, but none of them I don't think I really know from anything either.
Nicky Katt is in this. He was you'd know him as the tough guy from Dazed and Confused,
and he just died.
Yeah,
yep. Like yesterday, right?
It was a couple of days ago.
It was a week ago.
Yeah.
As of the recording of this, he is recently deceased. So there's one right there.
But wasn't he also the guy who stole Chandler's hat in Friends?
Oh,
I think he was one of the tough guys.
The two tough guys.
Yeah. But I mean, I always think of him as, Dazed and Confused guy. The guy who was smoking the reefer, who gets into it with Adam Goldberg.
Yeah. And then we already brought him up, but the last cast person I have is the director, who's Richard Linklater. I mean, giving more credibility to this movie, he's a great director. He directed lots of things. So he directed Boyhood, which was the 10 years in the making, or was it more? How many years did he, put that together and wait on that? Yeah. And then, of course, you mentioned Dazed and Confused, and we could look up others. There's others that we know too, but those are probably the big ones to me.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we are going to go into my synopsis of this movie right now, and then we'll talk about our favorite things in it. We have a few extra categories tonight, a little more fun. So, if you haven't seen School of Rock or kind of forgot how it goes, Dewey Finn is a loser rock wannabe who's taking advantage of his friend and roommate Ned by not paying him rent. He gets kicked out of his band, so he has no way of making money, making things even worse. When Ned gets called for a substitute teaching job, Dewey assumes Ned's identity for the job. He soon discovers the kids' music class and decides that he's going to turn them into a rock band. After convincing the local Battle of the Bands competition to include his kids, Dewey must bide his time and convince the principal that he is actually teaching well. But once exposed by Ned's awful girlfriend, all hell breaks loose. Inspired by Dewey's lessons, the kids band together and get themselves to the show where they kick ass. In the end, everyone learns from each other, and Dewey and Ned open a music school for children. There you go.
Yeah.
That's where the girlfriend overstepped her bounds, though. She shouldn't. I mean, as long as he's making money and paying the rent, then anything else is not her business, in my opinion. So,
yeah, she was definitely trying to. She wants the rent, but she doesn't like the way that he's making the money, so she's going to blow that up too. Ultimately, she just wants Dewey out of the apartment.
Yeah,
she just doesn't want him to be there anymore. So
I don't like her, but I disagree. I mean, he could ruin Ned's dreams of what he's trying to do. He's taking his identity. I mean, he's teaching kids. He doesn't have a license. You can't just.
I had forgotten that it was under his identity. Yeah, so that makes sense.
So it's not necessarily safe that he is a teacher in the school. So you know, in a movie, you're like not happy with her, but in real life, she's probably doing the right thing there.
All right. You win this time, Brad.
Thank you. Okay, so what are some of our favorite scenes in this movie? Pete, you go first.
Just in general, the classroom jam sessions, the little montages where they do keep getting better and better. Those were always good. And then also then obviously the performance at the end, the battle of the bands. And then I thought it was fun where he's assigning the roles to all of the kids. It was just kind of fun to see how he picked out who was going to be good in what role. I felt a little bit bad for the kids that got to be, the roadies and stuff like that. But that's what the band needs. But it's like, what are you saying? Are you saying that I'm not talented or I'm not good at anything or what? But I just thought that those scenes were good. And then the where he's giving the lecture about sticking it to the man. I thought that was really good. Mm-hmm. And then he makes a song out of it.
Sure. Yeah. First off, I would like to apologize to all the roadies out there on behalf of Pete. You are talented people. Shows don't happen without you.
Well, I'm saying in a music class, if you're the one that gets delegated to...
It's not a music class, though. He's making it into a music class. Yeah, we're just kids that are in a regular elementary class.
Whatever.
Well, no, I mean the thing
you brought it up. Jesus Christ!
the kids did say like, hey, I can sing, I can do this. So he's again. This goes back to how great he is in this. He with that enthusiasm, he's gonna sell those parts to those kids. It's like, hey, all right, we need roadies. You guys, we can't do anything without you. You guys got a fog machine. We're gonna learn how to do that. We're gonna learn how to do the lights. Like he puts so much energy into selling it and makes these kids feel important, and that's the beauty of it.
It's not just farting around in the classroom. That final performance needs every one of those kids to do that role for it to work.
That's true. I get it. I get it. I was just saying,
I'll take the low-hanging fruit here. My favorite scene is the last scene, the Battle of the Bands. I mean, it's just such a great performance. I'm getting chills watching it. It's just so much fun. The kids are out there just killing it. They're really letting themselves go. The kid at the keyboards, he's pointing like he was told, and kids playing the guitar and he's showing off. And, the backup singers are doing their thing. I just thought they did such a good job of doing that performance at the end. And, you have this buildup throughout the whole movie, right? I mean, this is the movie. We're going to go and we're going to perform this. And you do just love to see them knock it out of the park. So that's my favorite scene. I know it's an easy answer, but I'm going to go with it.
It is a great scene. It's an easy answer. But, I mean, any scene with him and the kids is basically the best scene. But Pete brought this one up. But the teaching Zach the first guitar riffs, and then as he's doing that, one by one, adding the musicians, and the way he gets into it and finds roles for every kid to have something to do. I mean, it's really cool, that whole scene, and you got the music, of course, playing the whole time. So it's all set to the
Builds
jam
up.
session there. There is a one I don't think you've mentioned yet when he learns that Zach, the one kid, has his own song, and he has him play it, and then he has all the kids learn it right there. That's a pretty cool scene, and of course, that's a song they end up singing and playing in the Battle of the Bands. So, like, it's even though he's really selfish and it's all about him to start, like, he's willing to look at this kid made a great song and he's going to learn it, and he gets all the other kids on board. He's actually a good teacher, just by chance, luckily.
There is much worse movie if that wasn't the case.
Yeah, there is one other scene that I like that comes at the end. So after the final encore, the credits go all the way through, and they're just jamming in the music school. And that whole jam session in the music school with the credits, you don't shut it off. You watch it all the way to the end. And I love that too. That's great. And when you know the kids know how to play the music and that they're playing instruments, it's great. So I don't want to let that one go. That was another scene that I thought was great.
Yep.
All right. Now we'll get into our favorite lines in this movie, as we always like to do. Gifford, you go first this time.
All right. This one's pretty early on in the movie. This is when he's, sleeping late, and the roommates come in and they're pissed at him. Sarah Silverman's character's yelling at him, and she's explaining how they are part of society because she works for the mayor, and Ned is a teacher. And Dewey's line is, "I serve society by rocking." I just think that's such a great line, just completely made up. Obviously, he's trying to, inflate his own importance. And of course, at this point, he doesn't know that he's been fired from his own band. But I love that line.
Well, and kind of speaking of that, like what he does when he first gets to the school, I love the line, "I'm a teacher. All I need are minds for molding." He has no clue what he's doing, but it still comes off funny and shows that he's at least trying to figure out what he's supposed to do or acting the part.
Yeah.
Pete?
I have been touched by your kids, and I'm pretty sure that I've touched them.
Yeah, that's one of those lines where it's funny. I think, I don't know, the parents, the way they take it, I get why,
it's overblown, but yeah.
But it's overblown. It's like he didn't really say it in a way that sounded that creepy. So, but they're all mad. They're crazy. Like, this is a random guy that's been teaching their class. So yeah, they're going to be overprotective of their kids.
It's just making a bad situation even worse.
What I love is
he's trying so hard too, and those words just backfire on him. So it's too bad.
What I love is the pause as that statement sinks into all the parents' minds.
Just sits there, yeah.
And then they all scream. I think that's outstanding.
So Ned has a great line, because again, you got to picture Mike White. He's one of the nerdiest looking guys in this movie you could ever imagine.
Yeah.
Dewey, I'm not a satanic sex god anymore. That's a joke, because they used to be in the band together, and he was so he's got the music in him too, even though he's moved on to other parts of his life.
Right.
But you get a little sense into what Ned was like before there.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys that if he was any more white, he'd be clear. I mean,
he is just so white.
Yeah, and the satanic sex god is outstanding.
Around this, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Around the same time as the "I've touched your kids" line, right before that, I just love the delivery of Joan Cusack, Mrs. Mullins, where she says she's just smiling because she doesn't know what to do and she's lost everything. "I've just been informed that all your children are missing," and she says it as a joke,
and then she holds the smile
because there's nothing she can do but laugh. What? And that's a great, the delivery is better than the line itself.
Yeah, because she's so screwed. She's already in the meat grinder with these parents, and now this is on top of it, and it's just brutal.
All the kids are missing.
Right. One of the ones I wrote down was when Jack Black or Dewey was trying to get the kids to yell at him because he's now the man, and he's trying to get the kids to vocalize telling off the man. And we get around to Lawrence, who of course is the keyboard player, and his line is, "You're a fat loser and you have body odor." It's not like you suck or go to hell. It's a little bit more personal, a little bit more observational.
I have that one down as in a later category. That's a great one.
Mm-hmm.
You got any more, Pete?
You're not hardcore unless you live hardcore. I got Step Off, which is a great song that they made that into a song. I pledge allegiance to the band of Mr. Schneebly, and I will not fight him for creative control.
Speaking of the hardcore, the singing line I love is when he's just riffing in class again, but he's trying to, like, this is the part you brought up, where he's trying to get the kids to get mad, and he's just singing, "I didn't get my allowance today, and I am really ticked off. Step off!" And he is so committed to those parts, but that's perfect because you're teaching kids, and you're in a movie with kids, and they come back to that and they respond to that. It's just awesome. But he asks them what makes them mad, and he turns it right into a song, and then they tell him to step off.
Yeah.
I have one more. God of Rock, thank you for this chance to kick ass. We are your humble servants. Please give us the power to blow people's minds with our high voltage rock. In your name we pray. Amen. Now let's get out there and melt some faces.
Yeah.
The prayer right before they go on the stage. That's fantastic.
It will test your head and your mind and your brain too. I think that was
right. Originally, I had that one down too, and then I tried to cut him down a little bit.
Okay. Well, I got it. I got you covered.
Here you go. Do you have, or who is your favorite kid in this movie? So we have a class full of kids. Which one would you say stood out the most?
I had Zach Mooneyham. He was the he's the kind of nerdy kid. I think he played the guitar.
Yep, he was lead guitar.
Yeah. He just stood out to me because he was like the perfect example of the kid that you will root for in a movie like this. And then, of course, he steps up and is able to pick it up and kicks ass.
Well, and not only you get a little backstory in him too, that his parents, are not very nice, or not nice, but they're just very strict. Yeah. And they don't let him. Obviously, he loves music and playing the guitar, and they kind of shut that down. So, you feel for him, and you like him a lot for that. Gif.
I'm gonna go with the kid that I related with, as the drummer. I'm going with Freddie.
The drummer.
He's the kid in the beginning of this movie who is already hardcore. Like, he's ready to hit it. I love that he's a drummer. I love that he goes and hangs out with the guys in the van before the audition. Like, he's a troublemaker from the get-go. So I really like him. And R.I.P., by the way, as well. We lost him 4 years ago.
Do we know why?
No, I did not happen to dig that hard.
All right. Well, I had Zach and Lawrence as my two honorable mention kids. But I wrote, they're all so great. The smiles and the laughs these kids have are so genuine throughout this movie. They just look like they're having fun. Like, they're acting, but they don't even look like they are. But my favorite kid is the one that I actually thought, you're not supposed to maybe like her. And I kind of remembered, she's supposed to be annoying, but my favorite kid is Summer. She is a great foil to Dewey. Like, you got to have the kid that pushes the teacher in this case, and that, kind of corrects him or puts him in check. And she's perfect at it, but she's also just so cute and precocious, and she can be so serious and smart, but then she's funny and she loosens up, and she's still willing to go along with it as long as, you give her the right, she wants to be challenged and she wants to have something to do. And the little relationship between the two of them trying to figure each other out, I just think it's fantastic. So Summer is my favorite kid.
And the scene in the beginning, when he sees the board with the demerits and the stars, and of course Summer has just an ass load of stars, and when he tears that off the wall, you can see her soul leave her body. Like, she worked so hard and is so proud of all of those stars that she collected, and now they don't mean shit. And she just lost her clout in the class, like her importance in the class as being the smart one, the go-getter. So that was a great, first thing between those two.
All right. Our next category is what was the best lesson taught or best moment with a kid? Because maybe it wasn't necessarily a lesson at the time, but like between Dewey and one of the kids, what was the best lesson or moment that you had? I
What
believe
was the name of the
it's
girl? I should have written down her name. That was very self-conscious. Tamika. I found it here. It's
Tamika, yes.
Tamika. Where she was very shy, very hesitant, but then he's able to give her the pep talk. He actually did it a couple of times, and like saying, "Hey, don't be self-conscious." And she was worried that she was overweight, and that was the thing. But he's like, "Don't worry about it. I am too." But then
Yeah.
he's like, "Don't focus on that." I just thought that fits your category.
So first he compared her to Aretha Franklin, which is going to
Yes, that's
lift
right.
her up. But then it's really great when he puts himself out there and says, "You know who else has a weight problem? Me." And so it is a great moment, and she obviously can sing, and she needs that person to get her there, and he does it.
Yeah.
That's on my list. GIF.
Yeah, that was on my list too. I'm going to go back to when we were doing the scenes, when that first moment when he pulls the kids up and he has like each of them play the bass line. Okay, and now play the dun, 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 but up on the cymbal real quiet. And then he goes around to each kid and gets them playing just their part of a song, and you can kind of see like the kids like be like, holy shit, like we're actually putting music together in a really cool way. And so I liked that first interaction with the musicians. That I thought that was really cool.
He had one other moment where he had to build up a kid. He built the confidence of Lawrence too, who's the keyboardist. And he thinks he's a big nerd. And not that popularity, is a good lesson, but he says, if you're in a band, you're going to be so popular. But I mean, it's not in a bad way. He's like teaching him just to be more confident, that he's cool. And the kid hears that and it works. So that's like with Tamika, that's another one.
Yep.
So those are two of my favorite moments. My favorite lessons are right before they go out to play. Besides that, prayer, there's another line before that where he says, "If we fall with dignity, with a guitar in our hand and rock in our hearts." But he's like saying, he's not saying they're going to win. He's not saying we can't lose. He's giving them the chance to say that we might not win, but we're going to do it best. That's always a good lesson to learn. But my favorite lesson in the movie is the man. I love when he talks. I mean, the first part is not very good because he's telling him to give up because the man brought him down. So, the man's just going to get you. So you got to give up. But later on, he teaches them to stick it to the man. And that's the lesson they take with them. And they need that lesson because a lot of times it's their parents who are the man, and Mrs. Mullins is the man. So that's my favorite lesson.
I've got one that it was in a musical montage, and I feel that I need to take this lesson. I want to be in his rock history class just for the pop culture knowledge.
Yes.
Like when he's connecting everybody punk rock to fusion to like, and they're going through all of the bands through it. It's like, holy crap, I really need to sit in on this and, learn a little bit from Mr. Dewey.
Dewey Finn.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so most movies have things that are a little bit not believable and everything, and as a teacher in a school, like I look at this a little more harshly in that way. But our next category is what is the most unbelievable thing that happens in this movie? I'm going to start with two right off the bat here. Nobody ever steps in his room. I mean, how long is he teaching these kids, and nobody ever catches on that he's not doing anything but teaching music? Like there's no grades. What are the parents don't notice? That's a little much. And then the soundproofing itself, like really, they're playing rock music with electric guitars. That soundproofing really works. So, I mean, I love it, but you look at that and it's like you still wonder, that's not probably going to work that way.
Mm-hmm.
I got a few more. What else you got?
I just had the fact that he actually was able to get as far as he did as a different identity, and nobody noticing. Like just because he answered the phone and then he went in, it's like nobody caught on. Don't they check identification or anything like that? Brad, you would know more than I do what kind of credentials.
Well, I will say,
present and show.
schools are very, very short on subs. We're all short staffed. So you want a sub to come in and take a role. I'm sure there's chances where you might bring one in and think, okay, well, we saw your background. We called you.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably not going to
We
get
don't
your
know what you
ID
look
out
like.
when you get there. So I could see
Yeah.
that happening. But yeah, I mean,
Any
obviously,
job
at some
I've ever
point,
had, I have to show an ID and Social Security number. I don't know how it works for teaching jobs
well,
or
Ned
substitute
would.
jobs,
He's
especially.
part of a teacher's like a sub service, so he's
Yep.
already. So they called him,
Oh, okay, all right.
you know, and then he shows up and says, "Hey, I'm Ned." It's like it's actually believable.
Sure.
Maybe kind of scary that way, but
It's a little bit, yeah. All right, that was the main thing that I had, but you cleared it. You cleared it right up for me. Now I believe it.
okay. Gif, what do you got?
The fact that Patty is dating Ned, she's way out of his league. That's number one.
Well, I think though, don't you think that part of it's just because she feels like she can boss him around? Like,
Yeah, maybe.
she likes the power more than like, she just gets to be the man in that relationship.
Sure. Another one, like, first off, like, are the police needed at parents' night? And if they are needed, there's no way he's able to escape.
How did he get out of there?
That school. The other one is that the kids just leave school at the end to go to the show, and there's a bus driver there, and he's just gonna take the kids without a adult chaperone. Like,
kids hijacking the bus.
Yeah. So those were three that I had.
Not only that, but the first time they go to the Battle of the Bands, and he gets half the kids on the bus, and the other kids stay in the classroom, and they're able to fake out the principal who doesn't open the door. She just hears. It's like that's obviously a stretch too.
Sure.
They get to the Battle of the Bands and they're told they can't play, and the guy just kind of rolls his eyes at them. But then he tells them the sob story about how they all are sick, and the fact that they let him in due to stick it to the moniosis is that's pretty funny too, but unbelievable. My last one is the fact that No Vacancy won that tournament because they sucked. There's no way No Vacancy wins that contest. The kids killed them.
Should have been Talent is what it was.
So,
that's their band name.
That's my
especially when the whole crowd
right
is cheering for these kids and everything. Yeah.
Although whatever that top was of the guitar player that replaced Dewey, I mean that's pretty badass. That
the shirt that only goes over the shoulders.
Over the shoulders, yeah, that's pretty badass. So
well, Mrs. Mullins liked that.
Yeah, well, I tried to find one on Amazon after watching this.
All right, we have one more category before our draft. That is, since we talked so much about sticking it to the man, what is the best stick it to the man moment in this movie?
I went with the thing you just talked about, getting into the Battle of the Bands, telling a lie about kids being sick. Like, he didn't want to hear your band. He wasn't going to see them. And you just go ahead and make up a lie to trick the man and to get in to get your chance to play.
That's pretty much what I had on that one.
Okay. I got four here. We've already mentioned a couple of them, but they're in the hallway, and one of the kids, as the principal walks by, says, "Mrs. Mullins, you're the man." And like, she thinks it's funny, but the kids are laughing because they know they're sticking it to her. They making fun of her because they just learned that lesson. I think that's funny and really cute the way they react.
Mm-hmm.
Your line, "You're a fat loser and have body odor." That's a good stick it to the teacher line.
Sure.
Even though I think it's ridiculous, the kids hijacking the bus is a stick. They leave the school. They leave their parents. They say, "Screw this. We're going to do it." That is sticking it to the man right there. And then in their song at the end, you got a bunch of 10-year-old kids up there, and they sing in this great song. But when they get to the line where they all shout, "Kick some ass," that's sticking it to the man.
Right.
So
it's rock and roll, baby.
Has anybody, as a teacher, Brad, all your years of teaching, has anybody ever stuck it to you in a way that you respected?
Respected? I'm not sure about that, but I've had kids walk out of the room telling me to fuck off before. I've had kids flick me off. I've had kids do all kinds of things before, but
all right.
They were always wrong.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't know if there's.
I'd have to think hard about that one.
where you like had to stop and think and say, yeah, they were right. You know what I mean?
I'd have to think about that one for a while. I mean, there's definitely been times where a kid has corrected me on something where I'm like, but I wouldn't call it necessarily
Respectfully?
sticking it to the man. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I've had it both ways. All right. Any final thoughts here? Am I alone in loving this movie, or have you come around, or where are you at, Giff?
I love it. I wish I knew it better. I probably should have watched it more often. This was extremely fun to rewatch this movie. The kids are great. Jack Black is great. It's just a fun family film. So
yeah,
I did.
Like I said, I can watch this with my classes. Like it's like maybe teenagers, but still, if a kid's old enough, it's a good family film.
Yeah. Well, it is rated PG-13, a movie about 10-year-olds, which is a little strange, but it's still good. I mean, it's just fun. It's a good show.
Yeah. Pete, are you going to rip it again or not?
I'm not going to rip it again, and I'm saying I like it. I don't have to love it. I just like it.
You don't have to love it.
Okay,
so we got one like.
I'm sticking it to the man. I'm sticking it to the man right now by liking it and not loving it.
You know what? That's probably the best comment you've made tonight, Pete. I like that a lot. That's good.
Thank you.
That's fitting right into the context here. Well done.
Okay, good.
All right. Well, we did our favorite fictional schools 2 weeks ago on the old school episode. Tonight, we're keeping it in the schools. We've had kind of a school theme this month. We're going to pick our favorite fictional teachers tonight. Now, if you think of fictional teachers and you look up fictional teachers, you're going to get a wide range of things. You're going to get mentors. Right. You're going to get things like Mr. Miyagi, who was one of the first people I thought of. In order to keep this on track and keep it so that we maybe would have a similar thought process, I decided that you must have a classroom teacher.
Yep.
So it can't be Mr. Miyagi. It can't be a coach of a basketball team or a team, which, would be a good teacher. It can't be a wise mentor. It can't be a wise janitor. It's got to be a classroom teacher. So
it can be a college professor though, right?
Yes. That's a classroom teacher.
Teaching in classroom.
And it can be from TV or film. So there's still plenty to choose from. And that helped narrow it down though, because there are so many. All right. So I'm first, followed by Pete and Giff. I'm going to back this up a month, and I'm going to take one of my favorite teachers of all time who steals a movie that he's in with lots of other great people, and that's Mr. Hand from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I love me some Mr. Hand, Ray Walston.
Excellent.
All right. I got the next pick, right? I'm going with a guy who actually was a really good teacher, but it's not what you think of this series for. I'm going with Walter White.
Yes, he is a teacher.
Yep.
And he is on my list.
He is on my list and highlighted.
He really helped out a student of his. So it's like, and
he teaches Jesse how to make meth, which doesn't really count, but he is still a classroom teacher.
He is a classroom teacher.
He works in both categories there.
Yeah. Yep. All right. I'm going to go with the teacher that is one fine piece of
it was going to be my next pick if you forgot about her.
Oh, that was the first one I wrote down. Are you kidding me?
Veronica Vaughn.
Miss Veronica Vaughn.
It's one nice piece of ace.
But you can imagine.
Well, she was my number 3 on my list, but I was going to pick her because I thought she might go. So I will go to Dewey Finn, number 2. I mean, who wouldn't want to be in his class? And I'd love to have him teach me how to play an instrument.
Yeah, the hi-hat.
Contagious energy. Yeah, maybe I could do more than just the hi-hat if he was my teacher.
He would bring out the best in you.
I could play the claves.
Ooh. You play the claves, the hi-hat with the claves.
Yeah. Pete?
I'm going with Dr. Henry Jones, better known as Indiana Jones, who was a professor of archaeology.
Oh, Dr. Jones.
Another one I had highlighted. Excellent pick. All right. You don't see him in the classroom a lot in this movie, just in the beginning. I'm going to go with Sean McGuire. He's played by Robin Williams in Good Will Hunting. It's not your fault. It's not your fault.
I'm going to have to look up how to spell Sean and McGuire because there's multiple spellings and I don't know.
All right. I have it here if you'd like it.
Nah, I'll get it later.
All right.
So Good Will Hunting, Robin
Yes.
Williams. Okay. All right. I am going to go next to, let's see. I'm going to take a one we've talked about. We talked about this show way back in season 2. One of my all-time favorite shows, one of those shows that was canceled too soon. That is Coach Fredericks from Freaks and Geeks, which he's a coach, but he's the Phi Ed teacher.
Yep.
And he is played by Biff from Back to the Future. And he's an awesome character on Freaks and Geeks. He's not on it a ton, but when he's so confused by things and he's learning how to go on the way, and he's great. It's a great show. One of many great characters.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going with it was a nice show, an enjoyable show that Jenny really liked, and then I got into it, but really loved the teacher, Will Schuester in Glee. I just thought he was a good character, a good guy, a guy that I would like to have as a teacher.
I'll have to look up the spelling on that one too.
Was he a counselor though?
Uh-oh.
He's the Glee Club teacher.
Okay.
I think it's fine.
Okay. I got him on my list, but I was kind of wondering.
Maybe it's an extracurricular, but it's like a choir, so we'll go with that one. I wouldn't have thought of that, so I wouldn't have caught that anyway. So
okay,
that's picky gift there.
I'm gonna go with the guy who taught physics and history in Hickory, Indiana. That is Norman Dale from the movie Hoosiers.
Oh God, I wrote Pete's down in the wrong one. I thought of Norman Dale, but I forgot that he actually is a teacher. You never really see him teach, do you? Or
you see him in his classroom, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Barbara Hershey comes to see him after class. So yes, he does have a class. He does teach in a classroom.
Oh, I know.
So I figured that one would work.
That's a great one. Can't go wrong with Hoosiers. Okay. I will go with. God, this is a good. There are too many here. I'm going to go with not Veronica Vaughn, but I'll take Miss Lippy. Thank you, Miss Lippy.
Oh, nice.
The puppy who lost his way.
Awesome.
It was a revolution.
All right, my turn.
Yes, sir.
I'm going with it. The character is unnamed, at least that I could find, but it's Ben Stein in Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
He's listed as economics teacher.
Okay. Economics. Teaching you that tariffs don't work.
Yeah.
Like he literally talks about that in the movie. That's the scene.
Yeah, I considered that one, but oh my God, is he so boring that I don't know if I could sit through one of his classes. All right, this is one you may not think of because Brad wouldn't know him from anything actually. But in the prequels to this series, Yoda does teach younglings in a classroom. So I am taking Yoda.
Are you serious?
I am indeed. There's scenes where he's in classroom teaching younglings in episode 3. Look it up.
Is that right? Are you going with
Isn't that the one where all the kids get killed?
They get murdered by Anakin. Yes, at the end, towards the end of the movie.
Yeah,
because that was the other one.
Teacher.
It was a very classroom-like setting.
Yeah.
Along with Mr. Miyagi, that's the other one that you always see listed, but I thought we weren't going to be able to pick but okay, I guess
I will vouch for Gifford on this one. It is a very classroom-like setting where he's teaching the kids.
It's
in they all get killed by.
This scene is in Return of the Jedi.
Lightsaber.
No, the third episode. What is it? Revenge of the Sith or whatever. Yeah,
the third.
It's at the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. Look it up. It's you can find scenes.
Okay.
So I'm going with Yoda with my number 4 pick.
You found your loophole. Good job.
Well, you classroom teacher. I don't know if it's loophole.
Not even a loophole.
Playing by the rules. I'm a rule follower.
All right. Well, do I
Hey,
want to
Gifford,
have...
because you gave me, well, actually, I shouldn't have given that to you because you were the one being a jerk about Mr. Schuster from Glee.
You don't have to give me anything. He's teaching in a classroom to younglings.
Well, you have Good Will Hunting. I will take Oh Captain, My Captain, John Keating, Robin Williams from Dead Poet Society. That'll be my final pick, I guess.
That's a great pick.
A great teacher. I don't know the movie that well. I haven't seen it probably since like 1990, but I mean, everybody knows, you know the scene, you know the impact. So you got to go with him.
Great.
I got some fun ones coming here, but he's a good teacher.
Yep.
Pete?
I'm going with one that we've talked about on this show, specifically in an episode of The Wonder Years. I'm going with Mr. Collins.
Oh, I couldn't believe Gifford. Or were you waiting to take him 5th?
That was going to be my next pick. I have him highlighted. Pete, my hat's off for taking that pick. I teared up, could not almost get through talking about Mr. Collins when we did The Wonder Years. That's how much I love him. So
right.
I'm surprised that you let it go that long and didn't.
I didn't think anybody else would take him.
I know of your. He's on my list. I wasn't going to take him, but I wrote him down.
That's outstanding. Thank you, Pete, for picking him. Well, then I will take Lily Aldrin from How I Met Your Mother. She is a preschool teacher by profession, and we do see her in her classroom.
That is a good segue into my follow-up list.
All right.
So one of my next ones that I almost picked was Ted Mosby from How I Met Your Mother.
Mm-hmm.
Ted Mosby the kids loved him. He was a great professor. Yeah. He took them out into New York. I would love to be in his class. And along those lines, I have Ross Geller. I almost picked. Did you have Ross Geller?
Oh, God, I didn't even have Ross Geller.
I mean, those are my two favorite ones that I put, but I figured I'll go for the bigger ones to try to win some votes for once this time.
Oh. Can't believe I didn't have Ross. I thought of Ted, but I was who would I rather be in a class with, Ted or Lily? Because she's a smoke show. So she's going to hold my attention.
The rest of my list here, you've got, I have Miss Bliss from the original Saved by the Bell, which was called Good Morning, Miss Bliss. You got all these Hogwarts people. So Severus Snape and Minerva McGonagall or Snape would have both been wonderful choices. I would have picked McGonagall first.
I had Snape.
Edna Krabappel from The Simpsons. She's maybe not the best teacher or the most nice, but you know her.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great character.
I liked this show for 2 seasons. I love New Girl for 2 seasons. Jessica Day was a teacher.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mr. Cotta from Welcome Back, Mr. Cotter. Not only Mr. Hand, but Mr. Vargas. And Mr. Vargas, I maybe could just take Vincent Chiavelli because not only is he the great teacher in Fast Times, but his class in Better Off Dead looks like one of the greatest classes you could ever sit in. You saw those kids hanging on his every word in the most absurd way. I gotta love that scene so much. So I'm not even sure what his name is in that movie, but he's a double dipper. Mr. Garrison. Mm-hmm. Professor Stromwell is from Legally Blonde. You know, she's not very nice at first, but she comes around and turns out to love. What's Reese's name in that? I don't even remember. But she's the old lady in there.
Yep.
Erin Gruwell is from the movie Freedom Riders, played by Hilary Swank. That's a movie I like because it's about English. It's kind of like a Dangerous Minds type of movie. Speaking of that, Luann Johnson is Michelle Pfeiffer. And even if she's not great, I'd just love to sit in Michelle Pfeiffer's class any day.
I second that. And
my last one, actually, I don't think she's a teacher. I'm glad I had her last, is Mrs. Norbury from Mean Girls. That's Tina Fey. She's a counselor, right? I don't think she's.
I don't know that movie that well. I did see her on lists, but
yeah, that's where I wrote her down from. But I didn't think too hard. I think I got to remove her, which is fine because I had plenty. So, who else you got?
Pete, why don't you go ahead? I got quite a few.
Was Mr. Holland's Opus a fictional movie, or was that a real guy?
I think that was fictional. I think.
Okay, well, I had
I
Mr. Holland
got it.
on my list.
All I
With
know is
that,
the one time I watched that movie, I cried uncontrollably.
you
It was
can't
like
help it.
watching
Exactly,
Savannah.
so
It
did
was like
I.
watching Savannah Smiles. It was like I can't handle this.
Yeah.
I had this is a principle, but I had Richard Vernon, and so that's why I didn't actually pick him from Breakfast Club.
I don't think you'd
I
like
think
to be
everything
with
else
this
that I
class anyway.
had. Yeah, no. Everything else that I had has been picked already.
Sure.
All right, Giff.
I'll mention.
Rattle them off.
I find it inconceivable that nobody took Mr. Hall from Clueless.
Oh, what's his face?
From
From-
Wallace Shawn.
Yeah, Wallace Shawn. Good one.
All right. I've got Mr. Payne from Dazed and Confused. He's the middle school teacher that yells at the middle schoolers. Man, let me tell you a story. I love him. I think he's great. I've also got Paul Hunham, Paul Giamatti from the Holdovers. If you haven't seen that,
Oh yes,
Please
that's a
do.
great movie. He's good.
that's an excellent one. I picked Lily Aldrin. I'm also going to pick Russell Geddes, played by Jason Segel. He's the PE teacher in Bad Teacher. Also, you have Elizabeth Halsey, Cameron Diaz from that movie, but Jason Segel's character is absolutely great. I'd love to be in his class. And then I've also got Miss White from the Wonder Years. That was a crush that Kevin had in middle school. And my first pick was Miss Veronica Vaughn. She did sleep with with one of her students, of course, in the end. I'm also going to include Miss Jacobs from Dawson's Creek, who slept with Pacey. She seems like a good time gal. Also, Charlie from Top Gun sleeps with Maverick. There is classroom scenes there as she is teaching the guys how to fly. And then Miss Davis from Varsity Blues didn't sleep with any of the kids, but she's got a couple assets that she likes to help out.
Yeah, you definitely need to include that one.
Yeah. So that's the rest of my list.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap up 2003, I think, Pete. What does that mean?
I think so. We're going to close the yearbook.
We're closing it up. And we're going to come back.
Always exciting.
And we're going to reopen it to 1997. I think that's going to be a good one. I think that's one
That's
that
going to be a fun year.
The people are going to like. So there are... we could probably do 3 months worth of 1997. That was a great time. And there are so many great movies and albums and songs. It's just right in the old wheelhouse for us guys here.
Yeah.
Anytime you're talking about the 90s, you can't go wrong.
Right.
So this was episode 201. If you're listening to our show, this would be a great time to say, good job, guys. Give us a review on Apple or Spotify.
Please
give us
something.
Give us a new
nice.
listener. Tell your friend. Anything you do helps us.
Tell your friend.
Anytime you interact with us makes us joyful. So please do let us know what you thought of those 200 episodes. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah,
it would be fun. Even if you said something mean to us, we'll take that because I think that would be a little bit of fun.
The interaction is good. The interaction is still worth it. We know you're out there. Then it's like the opposite of love is not hate; it's indifference. We don't want indifference. We want love.
That's
and we
correct.
want hate.
That's true. We'll take passion either side of the coin.
Yes.
Passion.
All our years on social media, nobody seems to hate us. Nobody seems to put a really biting, hurtful comment. And that's really amazing to do on Twitter. So I'm looking forward to that. Somebody put something that really hurts us.
I think they've made their comments with their silence is where it's come from.
What I would like is a positive review that would melt my face. That's really what it comes down to. Give us a rockin' review.
Stick it to us. Stick it to the men here.
Absolutely.
Speaking of melting your face, what band graduated magna cum laude from the School of Rock?
That is Preacher Row. They teach doctorate level courses at the prep school. Yeah. Yep.
Well done. Right, well, hey, thanks for listening, everybody.
We'll hear you next time.
We'll see ya.
Bye.
Bye.
room to fear. No one's here to comfort me. Sorry for what I have done. Sorry that your son is gone. 7 steps and it will be my last. And start to me on my path. I turn and I look to you. I'm scared but there's nothing I can do.